Assalamu alaikum. In assessment of neurological system, today we will study about the assessment of cranial nerves. There are 12 cranial nerves, and this table shows the cranial nerves with their name, type, function, and a quick method to assess them. On the first comes olfactory nerve. It is a sensory in type. It functions for the sense of smell. To assess this, ask the client to identify different non-irritating aromas such as coffee and soap presented to each nostril. On the second comes optic nerve. It is sensory in type. It functions for visual acuity, color vision, field of vision. To assess this, for visual acuity, use Snellen chart or ask client to read printed material. On the third comes ocular motor nerve. It is motor in type. It functions for extraocular eye movement, pupil constriction and dilatation. To assess this, assess directions of gaze, measure pupil reaction to light reflex and accommodation reflex. On the fourth comes trochlear nerve. It is motor in type. It functions for upward and downward movement of eyeball. To assess this, assess directions of gaze. On the fifth comes trigeminal nerve. It is sensory and motor in type. Its sensory part innervates to the skin of face, cornea, and intraocular structure. Its motor part innervates to the muscles of jaw. To assess its sensory part, assess corneal and conjunctival reflex, measure sensation of light, pain, and touch across the skin of face, that is forehead, cheeks, and chin. To assess its motor part, palpate temples as patient clenches his teeth. On the sixth comes abducens nerve. It is motor in type. It functions for the lateral movement of the eyeball. To assess this, assess directions of gaze. Ask the patient to follow your finger laterally. This diagram shows the action and nerve supply of the extraocular muscle. On the seventh comes facial nerve. It is seventh cranial nerve. Its type is sensory and motor mixed and functions for facial expression and taste. Its motor part, to assess its motor part, ask the client to smile, frown, puff out cheeks, and raises and lowers the eyebrows to look for symmetry. To assess its sensory part, have the client identify salty or sweet taste on the front of the tongue. On the eighth number comes auditory or acoustic nerve. It is sensory. It functions for hearing. To assess this, assess ability to hear spoken words, whisper test via whisper test and Weber or Rennie test. On the ninth number comes glossopharyngeal nerve. It is sensory and motor. It assessed for the taste of patient's ability, taste and patient's ability to swallow. To assess its sensory part, ask the client to identify sour or sweet taste on the back of the tongue. And to assess its motor part, give sip of the water to elicit gag reflex. On the 10th number comes vagus nerve. It is sensory and motor. It functions for the sensation of pharynx, movement of vocal cords. To assess this, only its motor function is tested. Ask the client to say ah and observe the soft palate and pharynx movement. Assess speech for any hoarseness. On the 11th number comes a spinal accessory nerve. It is motor in type and it functions for the movement of head and shoulder. To assess this, ask the client to shrug shoulders to test the power of trapezius and turn head against passive resistance to check the strength of sternocleidomastoid muscles. On the 12th number comes hypoglossal nerve. It is motor in type and it functions for the position of tongue. Ask the client to stick out tongue to midline and move it from side to side to assess this nerve. This is a quick way to memorize these cranial nerves. Now we will assess cerebellar function. To assess cerebellar function, assess for point-to-point testing. This will be done by finger to nose test, heel to knee test and heel to toe test of gait. Rapid alternating movement. This test is done via patting knee and thumb to finger test. And cerebellar function is also assessed by Romberg test. It is a balance. Test for balance. To assess this, balance standing with eye closed and feet together. And on the last comes pronation drift. In sensory assessment, light touch, pain, temperature, vibration sensation, and position sensation, discrimination sensation is also assessed. They involve stereognosis, graphthesia, and two-point discrimination, point localization, and extension. To assess motor part, a general survey, asymmetry of the muscles, unilateral atrophy will often indicate weakness. To assess the upper extremities, have the patient raise his arms parallel to the floor or bed and then have him resist when you try to push them down. Do the same for the lower limb. Ask the patient to grasp your finger in his fist and then to let go. If he can't let go on command, it's indicative of the neurological injury. In general survey, also assess for gait and posture. To observe body alignment and spinal curvature, check ease of movement on sitting and changing position. To assess gait, ask the patient to walk in a straight line and observe the gait. Many neurological problems may be subtle until a patient attempts to walk. Walking can be difficult for patients due to because of pain, extreme fatigue on instrumentation. Can the patient independently bear weight on the both legs? Assess for this. And can patient independently maintain balance while standing? Assess for this. And do the legs move symmetrically when walking? These questions can be answered when a patient stands and takes just a few steps at the bedside. There are different types of abnormal gaits. There are natural gait. A patient should be able to walk with a smooth coordinated gait. There should be normal associated movement of the upper extremities. Cerebellar ataxia or drunken gait. Wide-paced unsteady gait. Romberg test results are positive. Client cannot stand with feet together. It's seen in patients with cerebellar lesion or alcohol or drug intoxication. Parkinsonian gait. Shuffling gait, turns accomplished in very stiff manner, stooped over posture with flexed hip and knees, typically seen in Parkinson disease. Caesar's gait. Stiff short gait, thighs overlap each other with each step. It is seen in patients with partial paralysis of the legs. Spastic gait. Patients does not lift the feet from the ground completely so that toes remain in contact with the ground. Legs swing forward and outward in a circular fashion, seen with the upper motor neuron paraplegia. This is weakness of both lower limbs. High stepping gait or foot drop. Patients lift the foot high to clear the toes from the ground and then returns it with a loud slapping noise. It is a characteristic of LMN lesion. In motor assessment, we also check for balance. This is assessed via walk heel to toe. This is also known as tandem walking. Walk on toe, walk on heels, stand on one foot and in hopping manner, and deep knee bends. In motor functions, we will assess muscle tone, normal state of muscle tension, hypotonia or flaccidity. It's a flabby and soft, a decreased tone of muscle. Spasticity, increased resistance, initially with movement, decreasing suddenly as movement continues. Rigidity, it's a continuous resistance to passive movement. Involuntary muscle movement, fasciculations seen in wasted muscles resulting from the disease of the lower motor neuron. Muscle mass size include wasting, maybe due to lesion of lower motor neuron, or maybe a disuse atrophy due to joint disease, or atrophy and hypertrophy may be present. In motor function, we will also assess muscle strength grading. Muscle strength is graded on 0 to 5 scale. On 0 comes no muscular contraction detected. On the first, a barely detectable flicker or trace of contraction. On the second comes active movement of the body part with gravity eliminated. On the third comes active movement against gravity. On the fourth comes active movement against gravity and some resistance. And on the 5 comes active movement of the muscles against full resistance without evident fatigue. Now we will assess the reflexes. Reflexes are of three types. These are superficial reflexes, pathological primitive reflexes, and deep tendon reflexes. To assess this, reinforcement, augmentation to distract the conscious thoughts, teeth clenching or hooking fingers and pulling the fingers. Biceps, to assess biceps, these are innervated by C5 to C6, cervical spinal nerves 5 and 6 innervated by this. And triceps, C7 and C8, cervical spinal nerves 7 and 8 are innervated by this. Brachioradialis, patellar and ankle or Achilles tendons are assessed. Superficial reflexes. These are motor responses to the scraping of the skin, graded either present, absent, or weak. There are upper abdominal, these are innervated by T8 and T9. Lower abdominal part is innervated by T10, T11 and T12. And cremasteric part is L1 and L2. Perianal part or gluteal part is innervated by S3, S4 and S5. And plantar superficial reflex, plantar flexion of the greater toe along with the flexion and abduction of the other toes. And Babinski's reflex is a bigger toe, a dorsiflexion and other fanning reflex. How to elicit Babinski's reflex? To elicit Babinski's reflex, stroke the lateral aspect of the sole of the patient's foot with your thumbnail or another moderately sharp object. Normally, this elicits flexion of all toes. It is demonstrated as a negative Babinski's reflex as shown below in the left illustration. With a positive Babinski's reflex, the greater toe dorsiflexes and the other toe fan out as shown in the right illustrations. Pathological primitive reflexes. These involve on the first, grasp reflex. It is a palmar stimulation lead to grasp. Ask the patient to release the determined voluntary act in adults. Snout reflex. This is a pouting or pursing of the lips in response to light tapping of the closed lips near the midline. Sucking reflex. Sucking movement of the lips in response to tactile stimulation while suctioning or mouth care. These are primitively present in a newborn. These are sucking reflex and snout reflex. On the third comes deep tendon reflexes. These are assessed on biceps. C5. These are innervated by C5 and C6 and assessed on the flexion of elbow. On the second comes a tricep. These are innervated by C6, C7 and it is assessed with a hammer on the extension, on the part of extension of the elbow. Brachioradialis. This is innervated by C5 and C6 and it is assessed on the flexion and supination of the forearm. Patellar reflex is assessed on the knee extension with a hammer and it is innervated by L3 and L4 part of. Ankle or Achilles reflex is assessed on the plantar flexion and it is innervated by S1 and S2. Deep tendon reflexes are graded and this is a grading scale. These are graded on a scale of 0 to 4. Plus 4 is a hyperactive clonus may be present and plus 3 demonstrate or denote brisker than average and plus 2 denote average or normal and plus 1 denote diminished deep tendon reflexes and 0 means absent response. This is all about the assessment of a neurological system. Thank you.